And I was actually speaking to a Tory last night, and so much resource has gone into getting candidates ready. People have kind of quit their jobs in anticipation of going and helping the candidates. So this is a bit of a disaster on all fronts, and for democracy. How is Rachel Reeves still Chancellor?
I mean, heaven only knows. I think it's only because she is a human shield for Keir Starmer. Clearly, that there is no other reason. I think the minute he gets rid of her, then his future is seriously in doubt. But I think for both of them, it's over. They are politically the walking dead. Keir Starmer, he's got so many nicknames, hasn't he? Never Here Keir and Free Gear Keir and all the other iterations, but you do wonder now if he's going to be called KEIR STALIN, the way he's acting like a despot. Nigel Farage certainly thinks he's channeling some kind of Russian dictator here.
There has been rumours about a Tory reform deal. How likely do you think that is? Welcome to the Daily Expresso. I'm Steph Spyro, and today I'm thrilled to be in the studio with the pioneer of dictator chic, none other than the Daily Expresso's deputy editor, Sam Lister.
Well, thank you. That was quite an introduction. It's lovely to be here with you.
Well, Sam, I think you might have to explain to our viewers what dictator chic means and how
I'm not actually even wearing any today, but yeah, I'm a big fan of epaulettes, brass buttons, anything that has a slight military feel to it. So.
And you wear it well.
Thank you. That's very kind.
I've taken inspiration from it. Right. It's Friday, which means it's time for you to espresso yourselves. The inbox is filling up, and we've got questions and comments from viewers and listeners all over the globe. Let's have a look to see what you have been saying over the last few days about our show. So first, Christine Robinson says, I love your interviews. You let people speak and your laugh. JJ is a tonic.
Oh.
Someone else with the name FedUp1234, hopefully not fed up with our show, says at least JJ gives the interviewee plenty of time to talk. He ain't no Hartley Brewer. That's a compliment, by the way.
I'm not saying that to Julia Hartley Brewer's face.
JJ would have loved those comments, so please do keep them coming in. Although Shauna Griffin 4913 did say, do not like JJ as a presenter, get someone better.
Oh, gosh. Well, Steph, you're in the hot seat this week. Maybe it can become a permanent fixture.
I won't get too cozy just yet, I think. You have also left lots of comments on the episode I did with Belinda DeLucy, friend of the show, Phil, retired of Guildford.
Oh, we love Phil.
We do. He said, a very professional job today, Steph, hosting your first Daily Expresso in the absence of JJ. Belinda DeLucy was on top form as always. So thank you very much, Phil. That is very kind. It's another week where Reform are making the political weather. First, there were those claims about Reform believing a merger with the Tories is inevitable. Then those rumours that Robert Jenrick could be lured over. That's not gone down well with you. So Mike Rieger 1186 said no, big no in capital letters, to a merger between Tories and Reform. Tory wets caused half the trouble, and it's why their support collapsed. Their blue Labour. Then Reform received a massive donation from an aviation entrepreneur. As if that wasn't enough, it had to hold an emergency press conference after the government delayed local elections again. Sam, what is going on with these local elections?
Oh, what a mess! I think this is something that I think last year they delayed them for technical reasons. They said. Because they're restructuring local government, they're kind of merging some councils, they're creating some new mayors, all that kind of stuff. And so they said, look, we need some more time to get all this done. Now, Reform were outraged at the time because they felt actually all the areas where they're expected to do really well in were conveniently the ones that were no longer going to be having elections. Now, obviously, Labour's fortunes have only got worse since then. And surprise, surprise, here we are again a year later, and they're cancelling 4 more elections. So there's a load of mayoral elections due next year. In fact, I can tell you where they were going to be: Greater Essex, Norfolk and Suffolk, Hampshire and Sussex. Those places are no longer going to have elections. And it's not even just delayed by 1 year, it's for 2 years, till 2028. I mean, this is quite astonishing. This has caused outrage. Not just within Reform, but also the Conservatives. I mean, everyone smells a rat here. You've got to think, hang on a minute, OK, fine, 1 year, we can just about let this go. But 2 years on the trot, there's there's something wrong here. Now, when you look at Labour's poll ratings, is it any wonder that they're now being accused of running scared? I think Nigel Farage really feels aggrieved about this, but also so do the Tories. James Cleverly has said this is a real affront to democracy. This is Keir Starmer. He's got so many nicknames, hasn't he? Never Hear Keir and Free Gear Keir and all the other iterations. But you do wonder now if he's going to be called Keir Stalin, the way he's acting like a despot. Nigel Farage certainly thinks he's channeling some kind of Russian dictator here.
So many nicknames. It's unfortunate that his name works with so many things. Do you know, and I was actually speaking to a Tory last night, and so much resource has gone into getting candidates ready. People have kind of quit their jobs in anticipation of going and helping the candidates. So this is a bit of a disaster on all fronts, and for democracy.
It really is, and it's only a few months away. This is not something that they took a decision a year ago. As you say, people quit jobs, they make all kinds of financial sacrifices to run for election. It's not cheap to put yourself forward in these jobs. But I think on that front, the other story we've had in the last few days is this revelation that actually Reform has been the beneficiary of the biggest ever political donation in British history. £9 million. £9 million. I mean, they're absolutely, they must be cock a hoop. So this is an entrepreneur, as you say, Christopher Harborne. I think he lives out in Thailand, but he is British.
And a former Tory donor.
Gave money to Boris, gave money to the Brexit Party. But he never gave money on that scale before. I think he gave Boris something about 1.5 million. £9 million. Now, this actually will transform Reform's operation. They're already actually pretty swishy. I've been into their head offices. It's all very whizzy, very kind of high tech. Lots of very ambitious young people
and swanky
working there. It's all they've got a big studio. They've got their own press conference room. It's really very impressive setup. So they've obviously got quite a bit of money behind them anyway, but this will definitely take it to the next level. And this would really give them quite a boost going up into those May elections.
Absolutely.
And now, obviously, 4 of them have been scrapped.
Absolutely.
Another 4. So I think they are really frustrated about that. That said, they're still going to have a great local elections. Clearly, the wind is in their sails. So those ones that do go ahead in May, I think we'll see massive gains there.
And speaking of the wind being in their sails, there has been rumours about a Tory reform deal. How likely do you think that is?
Look, I don't think there'll be any kind of public expression of any kind of pact or deal before the general election. It would be mad. Why would they do it? Why would the Tories do it? Why would Reform do it? It makes no sense to me. Nigel Farage got really badly burnt last time he did this in 2019 when he stood aside in various seats to allow Boris Johnson's Conservative Party to sweep to victory. And the idea was, look, OK, in some seats we're going to split the vote. We don't want to let Labour in. We want to get Brexit finally done. This is the way to do it. But I think various promises were made that weren't kept. I think a lot of the candidates who had put themselves forward felt quite aggrieved. And so I think the likelihood of Nigel Farage repeating that process is 0.
He did say this week that his trust, because of the 2019 election, was virtually non-existent.
Yeah, but it's the claims for this story supposedly come from Nigel Farage himself. Now, I think there's a difference between what you say before election and what happens after an election. And if the political reality after the election is Reform have got loads of seats, but the Tories have got a decent chunk too, and between them they can form a government because Reform can't do it outright, then inevitably that clearly is going to happen. I can't see a scenario where that wouldn't happen, but I just don't see any way, shape or form that they would ever, either side would ever say that before the election.
Well, someone else who says one thing before elections and one thing after is Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who is still clinging onto her job after a disastrous budget that has left her credibility in tatters. And you lot are furious about it. So, Hotdog 007 says she still thinks she hasn't put taxes up for everyone. I can see why she lied about being an economist now. Floaty MacBoaty, love the name, says I've heard some old tosh from Reeves in the past, but this surpasses anything she has said before. And then I eat lots of toast. Love to know what the toppings are for that. Says, how is Starmer able to continue the lie of a £22 billion black hole at PMQs today? And finally, Tone51 says, it takes a special kind of stupid to destroy the economy of a nation built on coal, floating on oil, and surrounded by fish. So I'm going to ask a question, I think, on all our viewers' minds. How is Rachel Reeves still Chancellor?
I mean, heaven only knows. I think it's only because she is a human shield for Keir Starmer. Clearly, that there is no other reason. I think the minute he gets rid of her, then his future is seriously in doubt. But I think for both of them, it's over. You know, they are politically the walking dead. That budget was outrageous in many, many ways. You have to remember, going back to that general election, which wasn't that long ago, over and over and over, they promised no tax rises on working people. They included a small number of tax rises in their manifesto to pay for certain things like private schools or whatever, the tax on them. They said anything else, any additional cash would be funded through growth. We haven't seen any of that, have we? So they went in there insisting they had a fully funded manifesto. And since then, they have hiked up taxes by £66 billion. I mean, that's
a chunky number.
It is an outrageous insult to the British public. There is no way back from this. The economy is not going to recover in any way, shape, or form in the kind of timescale needed to save their necks. The small boats crisis is just getting worse and worse. You know, there is nothing they can do now that will save them. So we just have Rachel Reeves clinging on and Keir Starmer clinging on. Really, you know, they can have a long, painful death, or they can have a slow, a quick, dignified, fairly dignified exit. Yeah. And at the moment, they've chose the very slow, painful death.
Has something in the political climate changed? In years gone by, I don't know that a Chancellor would have survived as much as Reeves has survived. And Starmer and Reeves are outwardly being accused of being liars. That's not language that maybe would have been around in, let's say, 10 years ago, so openly. What's changed in our political climate that it means they're being called liars and they're staying in the post?
People used to fall on the sword, you know. People had a bit of integrity and decency, and it was generally seen as, you know, you need to do the right thing here, old boy. Now, I think the modern era, obviously, we have Twitter, we have constant kind of 24-hour news, whatever, which means all politicians are now just under relentless pressure all the time. So if they just kind of went whenever anyone was angry at them, you'd never get anything done. Yeah. So, you know, you have to kind of work out, if you're a politician, is this genuine public anger, or is this just a bit of a kind of row in the Twitter sphere? But I think it's made them just completely lose any sense of reality and any kind of connection to the public. They just don't really seem to know now how what's serious and what's not, and all the kind of old school standards have just kind of gone out the window. But ultimately, you know, there's no recovery for Rachel Reeves on this, or for Keir Starmer.
I wonder whether it'll be those May elections next year that drive reality home for the government. On Tuesday, Sam, we had broadcaster and political firebrand Mark Dolan on the show. JJ and Mark discussed the political state of the country, budgets, migration, two-tier policing, and the woke left. Our comment section was filled with your takes on the episode and the topics discussed. So here is what you had to say. Nicola 4312 says, Dolan hit the nail on the head. Academia has a lot to answer for. Austin Moore 2059 said, I'm a reform counsellor and I can tell you the following now. I deal with the police. The younger recruits they are taking out of university are left-wing and genuinely believe in woke. The organisation has also become woke from the top. Rob 8 says the police investigate people standing up for themselves, not the criminals. The police are lost. And Car Guy UK 7525 says politicians don't care anymore what voters think. No one respects them. We need to push back against woke and carbon BS and take control. Education, especially universities, have to change. The UK has lost its way. Do you think we have a woke problem in the country, Sam?
Yeah, I think we do, clearly. I think if you look at certain issues like the trans wars, that still has not gone away. The Women's Institute, for goodness sake, issued a statement this week saying that, sadly, regrettably, after the Supreme Court judgment that only women who are biological women can be classed as women in women-only spaces, they put out a statement saying, regrettably, this means we can no longer admit trans women to the Women's Institute. But it was so begrudging. They said, we still believe trans women are women. You know, essentially they were saying, we don't want to do this. We're being forced to by the law. And, you know, that's I cannot believe that group of, you know, that institute, this historic institution, all those women who are members of that believe that trans women are women. I think they believe they are trans women, and that's not the same thing. And yeah, it just is this mindset now that's kind of infiltrated the top of lots and lots of organisations, government departments, and more cultural and social ones like this. And I think it's really hard to change that mindset. And I think that is a problem for anybody who doesn't buy into that kind of mindset, which is actually half the country. Half the country don't believe the kind of hard left woke mindset, but they are bound by this because the people running the country do.
And I imagine there's actually still a lot of places that probably haven't implemented that High Court ruling on biological sex, which probably tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on two-tier policing in the UK and issues around that?
I'm not sure it's quite as deliberate as that, but I think it feels like that sometimes. I think people feel a bit, how can you have 6 police officers turning up at the home of some parents who've complained about their school on a WhatsApp group, and then take away the husband and wife in separate cars, put the kids into another car, and then grill them about that. Grill them about WhatsApp messages complaining about their school. It feels crazy, and especially if you've actually been a victim of crime, if you've had any, if you've had your bike nicked or your house broken into or any of those things, it just feels like the police's priorities are wrong. Now, I know there's been some kind of guidance issued recently which has told police forces to stop policing social media in the way that it has been doing. But that again, it's like turning around a juggernaut, isn't it? It's so part of the fabric of the police now that actually changing that mindset is quite a big deal. And I think it's going to take a while before we see any changes, really. And
another big issue that the country cares a lot about is immigration. And the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is following Denmark's lead with that. What do you think of the reforms the government's proposing there?
I think it's a good step. It's a step in the right direction. But I think she is only one person in a very, very left-wing. It's the Labour Party. She's only one person trying to sort this out. The rest of that party, to their bones, in their fingertips, they are against this. Yeah. So, she can do her best. She can talk tough. But can she get everybody on board to make this happen? And also, can she really deal with the Home Office, which the Home Office is actually like a radicalising force. Robert Jenrick, we talked about Robert Jenrick earlier. Robert Jenrick went into the Home Office fairly, liberal, on the liberal bit of the party, of the Conservative Party, and he came out absolutely radicalised. And he will tell you that if you speak to him about it. He went in there and he saw what was going on in that department, and was like, I cannot believe that this is, the Home Office, the force that protects our borders, the people who decide on who's coming in and out of this country, how to deal with illegal migration. These people fundamentally who are working there as a group, I'm sure there's obviously individuals who, but as a group, they are almost working against what the government of the day wants to happen. And this cannot go on, you know?
So now it'll be interesting to see if Shabana does get it over the line.
I think she'll struggle.
And, she's got rebellious backbenchers to contend with as well.
Yeah.
But from the Home Office to the Justice Department, Calamity Lammy strikes again. This week, he has decided to destroy the cornerstone of British justice, with the right to a jury trial. Here's what you have to say on the matter. So Grumpy Mum says, rather than doing away with centuries-old tradition of jury trials, make a new level of crime where persistent lawbreakers face a judge alone. Then the public will know who to blame if the criminals are released again to commit further crimes. Quiet Now says Lammy thinks trashing our entire jury system that has been enshrined in law since the Bill of Rights is worth it to save 20% of time. The man is insane campaign, in big capital letters, stop him now. And then Jenny says, don't see how scrapping jury trials is going to cut the backlog. In Italy, there are no jury trials. Cases can take up to 10 years to come to court. Do you think this will fix the backlog in cases at all?
No, it's not. The problem with the court system is not juries. The problem is it's just a fundamentally creaking system. It doesn't have enough money. The courts are old and not fit for purpose. The Conservatives closed a lot of them down. The juries are not the problem. I sat in court, magistrates' courts and Crown courts at the start of my career, and I think I can see how if you sit in court all day, you become very, very hardened because you see the same faces going in and out of those courts all the time. And what you also see is the same lawyers coming in, week out, saying, excuse me, Your Honour, hello, my lord, whatever. Can I have a 2-week adjournment on this because we've not received the papers? And so, the papers from the police have arrived late and then they've not had time to look at them. So everything just gets knocked on and on and on and on. And you can get, if you're following a case, you'll turn up on a Monday and then you'll be back 2 Mondays later and then you'll be back 2 Mondays later after that. And that's before it's even, that's nothing to do with the jury system. That is to just do with, just kind of the processes that are involved, people not being very efficient.
So how do you think the government should fix the backlog? What do you think they should do?
I think when you look back at COVID and we had the Nightingale hospitals, which never got used.
Yeah.
but it shows that actually if you want to get on with something, you can get on with something. They could make courts sit longer hours.
Yeah.
I have been a juror as well. I've been on both. I've sat in there as a reporter. I've been a juror. And, you will get to a certain point in the day when the judge is ready for his afternoon nap and adjourns for the day. And you're thinking, well, I've got, if I was in the office, I'd be in for another 3 or 4 hours yet. And I think they could, if they wanted to, they could extend the opening hours. They could put a lot of money and resource into it and get through that backlog. Right. Obviously, money is tight, but government is about choices. We all know that. They've chosen to kind of ramp up taxes and then put that into increasing welfare. Now, they could have put that money, you're going to ramp up the taxes, why don't you put it into making sure people get justice?
Yeah.
And I think to scrap this is the cornerstone of our democracy. Jury trials, it's a right. It's one of our inalienable rights in Britain. And to take that away just because you've got some backlogs is crazy. He's like setting fire to the system. I think this makes him really dangerous. I think he's a dangerous man to do this. And I think if you look at controversial cases like Lucy Connolly, now obviously she pleaded guilty, but there was another case at the time of a Labour councillor who had called for the right-wing activists to have their necks slashed. And he actually got off. He went to a jury trial. And I think the fairly comparable cases, and people were quite outraged that he'd got off and she'd been jailed. But the difference was he went to a jury trial, and juries don't like certain kinds of prosecutions. They think, hang on a minute, people saying stuff on Twitter, should they really be locked up for 30-odd months? And they are a natural corrective to jaded judges. So the stuff I was saying at the beginning, when you sit in court every day and you see the same faces, you do get really jaded.
Sure.
So you do have a particular mindset. The jury system is a corrective against that because it's your peers, it's everyday men and women who go, hang on a minute, no, that's not right. We shouldn't be jailing people for things like this.
Yeah.
And so they will. That's the whole point of it. They deliver what they think is a fair verdict, and I think it's a really, really sad and dangerous thing if we lose that.
And I imagine people wouldn't even mind a bit of a tax rise if it means they knew their money was going towards the justice system and resourcing that, or just, as you said, spending on things that the public wants.
Yeah,
because
people want the victims of crimes to have justice. Look at the shoplifting epidemic we've got. People can't even get the police to come out to that.
Yeah.
They cannot get those people prosecuted. And we go back to the policing thing, don't we? The police are prosecuting people for Twitter, and then those people are ended up in the dock and going to jail, and it all feels back to front. It all feels upside down. It all feels like the wrong people are being pursued by the police, and then the wrong people are being prosecuted. And so I think, nobody really wants to put loads of money into justice because actually on the whole, most people are lucky enough to not have to deal with it on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. But if you are a victim of crime, you want to see something done about it. And I think people are really, really fed up that it's taking so long.
Indeed. And I'm sure you'll have lots more to say on that in the comments as well. So it's time for our weekly roast. It's another hectic week of news with budget lies, royal family feuds, and secret political pacts. So Sam, what do you want to roast this week?
Jeremy Corbyn.
Tell me more.
Magic Grandpa, he has made an appearance in a pantomime. He's starring in a pantomime, which is called Wicked Witches, and he is the Wizard of Oslington, setting Islington, his constituency. They talk about how all is not well in Oslington, and he says he will fix it with some spells. And I just think, blimey, you know, if I was him, I'd be using his spells to fix his own party, which is called Your Party still.
Yes.
You know, we had the great scenes of the Your Party conference in Liverpool at the weekend, where Zara Sultana, who was supposed to be his co-leader, was outside protesting against her own party. And you have to wonder if maybe Jeremy Corbyn spent less time in pantomime and more time sorting out his own business. We might be that his party would be in a better position. Maybe it's better to keep him in panto and then we can contain him.
So I take it it's not a panto. You're running off to go and see him, Sam.
It's not one for me, Steph.
No one for you. Very well put. Right, that is it for this week. Please keep leaving your thoughts in the comments, hit like and subscribe. And as always, let us know who you want to see on the show. Thank you, Sam, for joining us today. And thank you to you for watching the Daily Expresso. Join us again on Monday when JJ will be back in the presenting seat and we'll get stuck in all the week's headlines. Have a good weekend. Bye for now.